Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to meet all of you via YouTube and via StreamYard and through Facebook and all that on this very special occasion of the 10th fireside chat of the All Ladies League Manufacturing Sector. We started the All Ladies League manufacturing sector in the month of May 2020, when very serious COVID, bath sheet or situation was really very sad and very scary. We started at that point in time. And then we slowly, we decided that, we will move on to an online platform where we can exchange a lot of notes. We'll provide a lot of opportunities for people to be networked, learn through the networking, and also get some mentorship online. So today we are happily stepping into the 10th chat session, and we actually take a lot of pride in calling this fireside chat a flagship program for us, because it has given us a real identity, and we want to do a lot of other variations and bring in a lot more variations and changes to this program, so it becomes that much more accessible for people. So we are trying out a lot of things. This forum, this particular chat series has met a lot of senior people. It has invited and we've spoken to budding students, budding engineers, budding manufacturing aspirants, and so on and so forth. So today I take a lot of happiness in welcoming, Ashwini and Srinath to this 10th fireside chat series. So we also have Priyanka there with us. Hello, Priyanka. Priyanka is joining us from New York. So this has actually become an international platform. Thanks, Priyanka, for taking time. It's early morning for you. Welcome, Priyanka. So we have Ashwini and Srinath. Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. So we have Ashwini
Hello,
and Priyanka.
Ashwini. Hello, Srinath. Good to have you here.
Hi, Priyanka.
So
how is it there in US? All fine?
Yeah, now it's pretty.
Is it fine?
Everybody has taken their vaccines here, so it's pretty safe.
So I'll take a few minutes to introduce Srinath and Ashwini Suprabha to this entire forum. And after that, I'll hand over the stage to the two guests today. We'll see what they have to share with us. Okay? So I'll start with Srinath, because Ashwini is not there right on the screen. I think she's losing her connectivity. So Srinath Nalluri is a mechanical engineering postgraduate from National University of Singapore, NUS, with minor in technopreneurship. He is working as research associate at Solar Energy Research Institute of Singapore, SERIS, it's called, a research institute in National University of Singapore. In his 5+ years of experience, Srinath has extensively worked on recycling of solar panels, repair of damaged modules, design and development of an advanced framing system for solar panels, and fabrication of modules with high intensity of power. Apart from hands-on experience in manufacturing and design, being a major in mechanical engineering, Srinath is well versed in Industry 4.0 principles, smart machining and manufacturing, and additive manufacturing. Srinath, the other side of Srinath is equally interesting. Srinath is also a writer, photographer by passion. He writes actively in Quora and got most viewed writer badges frequently, particularly on topics related to women, entrepreneurship, feminism, life, psychology, philosophy, and rationalism. Very interesting bouquet of topics you have got, Srinath. Thank you so much. Very interesting. He has close to 45 million views and 33,000 followers. My God, that is truly inspiring, Srinath. Very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
As Ashwini is joining in, I would like to introduce her when she is there on the screen. So, hi Ashwini, you're back on the screen. So I was just waiting for you to join, so I would introduce you, and then people put a face to your name, okay? Because it's YouTube live. So Ashwini is, Ashwini is a learning and development professional with over 13 years of experience in IT and banking industry. She's a postgraduate in psychology with specialization in human resources development from the University of Madras and a graduate in psychology, economics, and sociology from Mount Carmel College, Bangalore. She has worked with industry leaders in the IT and banking sectors such as HCL, Xerox, Business Services, and currently works for Wells Fargo. She has collaborated with business leaders to strategize, build, and deliver numerous learning programs on topics like leadership, professional development, communication, and culture. An excellent facilitator of learning programs. She has delivered more than 300 programs across regions and levels reaching thousands of employees. I'm sure, Ashwini, knowing you through your growing years, I'm very sure you would have energized the employees, to an extent that they deliver on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. She has also been instrumental in strategizing and program managing a key program to help women return to work after a break.
Thank you so much.
In a current organization, she is responsible for leadership and professional development of employees. Also, as a lead for corporate induction programs, she ensures that new employees have a warm experience and healthy appreciation for the ethos of the organization, which is foundation to making meaningful contributions. I'm going to be next talking about a very, very admirable quality of an aspect of Ashwini. She has been a Girl Scout, and she's a Girl Scout at heart, and being awarded the Rashtrapati Puraskar, President of India Award. She has translated that for us as a student. She believes in the motto to be prepared and face all experiences that come her way. Okay, this is I think it's a very, very what do I say? It's a very, very thumbnail introduction about Ashwini. I know Ashwini is a very bold and very proudly I would say that her middle name is Bold, Miss Bold. I call her very, very vocal in what she wants to say, and that is what is making her a very very seasoned L&D professional, learning and development professional. Welcome, Srinath. Welcome, Ashwini. And I would also like to welcome my other two vice chairs, Priyanka Sriram and Sirshita Shri. So Priyanka is a HR professional as well, and she's a new bride, married and recently settled in New York. So she's joining us from New York. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you so much for taking time. And she's been a very active member of All Ladies League, and right from the word go, she's been with us and helping us curate a number of programs. Thank you, Priyanka, once again. And I have my young friend and young leader, Srishita Shri. We call her Shri, okay? So Shri is, again, a HR professional. She works for Sonata Software, based out of Bangalore, right from work from home right now. So Shri, I know her again as a student. Very, very enterprising, enthusiastic girl, young lady, who has also equally contributed to the development of this manufacturing sector. And she brings in a lot of energy on a daily basis, which helps us to sustain the momentum in this sector. So thank you, ladies, for being there all the time. And thank you for pushing this entire energy forward. So over to you, Ashwini and Srinath. Now you guys can take on the stage and start discussing whether manufacturing is a skill set or a mindset. Yeah, over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. And it's been an honor working with you, working with Shri on this. And of course, it's a very rare opportunity for me from an IT and banking industry to be able to join hands with a person like Srinath, who comes with experience in manufacturing and an area which is so new, solar energy, and he's doing research on that particular field. A small chat with him for 5 minutes definitely made me believe that there's a lot more to tap from Srinath in terms of experience and learning. And I hope our conversations today, for all of them who are live today, I'm really hoping that our conversations today will kind of bring, throw more light on what Srinath does, my experiences. And of course, we have done our own research to ensure that you spend your meaningful 1 hour with us. So thank you, ma'am. And Srinath, what are your first words to say before we get started into our chat?
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity, because very rarely we get an opportunity like this to talk about this like on something which is like a global topic, as well as something which is need of the hour today. And I'm very interested because for me also, like how you felt, you found it, solar to be a very new field for you. For me, is the same thing when Rajni ma'am was talking about Bosch and all these rules and regulations about having this night shift. For me, it
True.
was a very interesting thing that day when we were actually doing it. So yeah, I'm also very excited to know about like what's happening in the other industries, and like what exactly are the bottlenecks in this issue, bottlenecks in this process. Yeah.
Sure. So, the topic that's been given to us is rather very interesting. And that's what, when I shared it with people also, they said the same thing, is manufacturing, is it a skill
Yeah.
set or a mindset, right? So we have
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
is it a chicken and egg story here, or is it something else that we're looking at, right? So it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I tried to dig deep and try to understand more about it, and one very interesting story that came across was one particular story that was in North Carolina, an institute called Non-Wovens Institute. This institute focuses on engineering fabric. So there's a bunch of people who are day in and day out researching about engineered fabric, right? And on
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
normal circumstance, when you look at that, it's something that it doesn't seem very interesting. But this is the
Hmm.
same group of people who were able to quickly work and make millions of millimeters of filter that's required for the mask that the pandemic would demand from us, right?
No.
So,
Uh-uh.
so it's a perfect example of the mindset and skill set coming in together. They're professors on a day in and day out basis, but here they are coming together to solve a problem. So the mindset here is, how do we solve the problem of the demand that we have, a sudden growing demand of filters that masks would require? How do we make 100 million masks available to people? How do we make them safe? And for that, we have this bunch of people who came together to do exactly that. As a small chat with you, Srinath, the other day that we had also, you were
Yeah.
talking about, how in your regular research, you typically have to carry solar panels
Mm-hmm.
to the field to test out, right? Because you are in the R&D, you have to test out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were talking about the composition of your team and how women are reluctant. So would you like to speak about that? Would you want to
Uh,
share about what holds women back, and why they don't really come in? And we're talking again about the mindset and skill set piece over here. So
yeah.
do you think they lack the skills to be there?
Yeah.
What is it that you see as a person who is privy to it in terms of a first-hand experience?
Yeah. So before I speak about my industry, recently on May, Burger King, they released an advertisement on Mother's Day, on Women's Day, and basically what many feel globally, what they feel is that women have this inborn knack for cooking. So they say that women have this cooking skills. That is the common assumption in a lot of homes actually. That's the reason why they sometimes have to sacrifice their career to be in the kitchen. And then Burger King released this advertisement which said that only 20% of the women, 20% of the chefs globally are only women. So it's a
Yeah,
very ironical fact. It's an ironical fact actually. So when they dug deeper, it was found that the chefs in hotels was actually considered to be a masculine job or male job, and they too neither knew the reason why. It was because of this high pressure burners standing for longer hours. They thought it was like for man's job, but over time it has been, I mean, with people taking this opportunity and all that, like more women coming forward, it has been found that like it's not such a difficult job for women, and they were actually enjoying it, or like they were liking it, for those who had passion. I think manufacturing or mechanical engineering, it also follows the same route. They think, or it's traditionally considered that it was considered to be like this, but actually, to be frank, right, when people start to try, when women start to try out, right, they didn't find it that difficult. And even today, when you see in industry wise, solar energy or anything, they, most of the work description, if you see, right, it is not something like which is difficult for women, which is like still a doable thing. And in our case, like in given my experience working with people in real projects where we used to manufacture solar panels. So mostly from my work side is we don't do any field work actually. We do it lab work. We manufacture solar panels. The field work is very less. So this lab work, right? Only 10 to 15% of it really involves a physical work where you need to carry a solar panel or you need to lift heavy weights. Apart from that, most of it is actually automated. That's what is Industry 4.0 or smart machining, smart manufacturing is. So few decades back, when you need to machine a plate, you have to do it physically. You have to turn the, you need to work in a lathe, physical one, when you do the milling and drilling. Today, it is more about you need to do it you need to write algorithms. The machine is there, the robot is there. Today, it is more about cerebral skill set. It's not the physical one. So it provides a more equal opportunity today. Yeah.
Fantastic perspective you have put across. You said it's cerebral and not physical. I think
True.
it's beautiful. It's a very,
So
very
last year around this time, I think August, I was working actually with a person from another lab where we were actually machining a plate. And then there was a woman there, and only both of us were there in the whole lab. And then her job was to write the algorithm, whether we need to do the groove first or the hole first, like which is the most cost time efficient thing to do. So this is how it is. It's not like doing the physical work nowadays. So and this one's right, we don't discuss it openly. We don't say that things have changed now. So it's only when people start trying it out, right, they realize that this is not the scenario anymore. It's like it's not that difficult for women, or it's not what they expect actually. Yeah. And as an add-on, one more thing many say is like you still need to stand in front of the machine though it is fully robotic and everything, right? You need to stand for like 4 or 5 hours. Today, you don't even need to do that because of this cloud computing and Internet of Things, right? You have an app. You can just go, you start the machine, you can just go and sit. You can monitor through your app. And then it can automatically abort the system if there is some error. So it has become more cerebral skill nowadays rather than the physical skill. That's what I feel actually.
Yeah, and you're right, Srinath, because I think the more and more you read about it, what one understands is that manufacturing today is looking for a new kind of a worker, right? It's not the same what they're looking for 20 years ago. So what we require, like you said, the cerebral skills, so to say, that is what is most important. And not to take away the manual work. And it is not to say that there is not enough manual work. There is, but it has been changing. Especially because now, earlier probably you would require somebody to what is also important is to note that the pandemic kind of has paused production in a lot of places, right? And because of that, now there's a sudden need to ramp up production, and now there is a need to get robots in place and automate and digitize the whole manufacturing process. And with the social the social distancing norm, earlier we required 3 people to lift a particular machine. Perhaps now you have to do with just one because of the social distancing norm. So the industry has been pushed in all directions, and I think the pandemic has kind of further acted as a catalyst to push for further automation and for further influence of, like you said, Internet of Things and a lot of things, which means that the usual myth associated with manufacturing, which perhaps is the reason why women stay clear of that particular sector, is that there's a lot of manual work required, and hence I will not get into this industry, or my family doesn't want me to get into this industry because I will have to do a lot of manual work, which is a big misnomer, especially today. Maybe it was true 20 years ago, but today it is not. So the mindset here is it's still age old, traditional, and people not being aware of what is happening real time, right? If I have to share an example closer home, we have a brilliant initiative in our organization called Glide, and that focuses on how do we get women back to work from a break, right? And most of the breaks are taken for childcare. And when they come back, what we've seen is they are quick to be reskilled. They are able to adapt. The learning agility is there. All of that is there. But there's a general mindset that, will I succeed? There's a dip in the confidence level. Can I learn? Will I be really as effective as my peers are? Have I lost years because I have stayed away from action? So a lot of these things are the mindset that holds them back. And in our training modules, in our learning modules, we focus a lot about how we help them tap their own strengths. We help them look at their strengths. We help them recollect their successes in the past, and we really help them build what takes to succeed on the floor. So the mindset there, what we would want to do, of course, is how can I really succeed in my thing, and how can we really help them build the skills later. So I think it goes hand in hand there. And just focusing on reskilling. What happens is when you reskill them, we teach them latest technology, when we teach them the latest ways of working and processes. And when they succeed there, that success further fuels their self-confidence and their growth mindset, and they start believing that they really can do well. I'm assuming in the manufacturing industry that kind of a leap is going to be much bigger for somebody to make that kind of a leap, because a lot of myths and a lot of misconception that people hold, just not the women, but even people around, which probably doesn't make manufacturing as an industry very attractive. The figures are also astonishing. They're just 12% of women working in India's manufacturing sector, which is really less, right? So I think that's something which we will need to start looking at, and also start focusing on.
So this thing you told, right? It's very evident that in a country like Bangladesh, they have this high GDP per capita. It's because they have good proportion of women workforce in their working population. Yeah. So this is what even India was focusing on last year also. This is the best time to actually bring women, because as many think that one population is not exactly the reason. There are a lot of open positions actually in manufacturing.
Yeah, the skill gap is huge.
Huge, yeah. So and skill gap is huge, and so this is the time, like the training of women workforce, and like you said, right, the skill gap, even though it exists, it can be trained actually. It's not like the people are reluctant to learn, or it's for example, I can give a very easy example. When Scooty TVS they launched in 1993, it was not for women actually. It's a unisex vehicle for both men and women, predominantly for men. That was the target market. But surprisingly, women started buying it, and then when they realized that that women are liking it, they wanted to bring it in different colors, to cater to the women population. But then they realized that not many women were there to make that whole thing profitable, and that's where the women on wheels thing came up. They started training women how to use Scooty, and then they created a market. So the same thing, like you can train women to do the same task. You can make them, you can provide them learning opportunity, and then accordingly you can bring in more women actually. This is not something which is like non-existent. It has been happening over a lot of years in different industries also. Yeah. So recently there was this startup where a girl joined as a maid. She finished a 12th standard and she joined as a maid. Her mother joined her there because she could not afford her education. This startup was actually a robotics company in India, Bangalore. And when they saw this girl, the team accidentally discovered that this girl had some engineering talent in her. So now she's actually working as engineer there, and she's pursuing her BTech parallelly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and this is true for men also. People who join as carpenter or somewhere like in the same company. I think there was a guy who joined as watchman. He became like product design analyst or someone like that. So a lot of my friends who work in software companies also, they pick people who are not from engineering background, but they have good mathematical or analytical skills, right? So even the world is actually changing. They're not merely relying on the degrees. Even all the top companies, right? They don't say like at least you need a bachelor's degree, at least you need a. It's changing nowadays. So it is evident that when you have this basic problem solving skill, or your interest, it can make you grow. You can learn the task. Very simple thing is like not everybody would be good in Photoshop or Illustrator, but if you have good design sense, it doesn't take much time for you to learn this Photoshop or Illustrator. So you need to have that skill to learn this. Yeah, that's what I
That's
feel
a good
actually.
example, Srinath, which where you said that I mean, it's like a very interesting story. She just goes there as a maid and she gets discovered. She
Yeah,
had the talent, right? And that kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
throws light about this concept of vocational training. And when we talk about
True, true,
vocational
true.
training, and you said degrees are not required anymore, and it's true.
True,
In a
yeah.
lot of countries like Germany and other countries, which is known for engineering, vocational training is a way, it's another alternative way of securing a good job, securing a good career, and to
Yeah.
make life happen for you, right? And irrespective of whether you're a man or a woman. But in India, there is a mindset where girls are not usually allowed for vocational training. It's mostly men or boys who are sent for
Mm.
vocational training. And what is happening is you're taking away an opportunity, or you're snatching away an opportunity from a woman where she perhaps, like the girl
Can
that
do
you
it. Yeah.
said, possesses that potential, possesses that skill, which can
Yeah.
be realized in a formal training environment and
Yeah.
will
Yeah. Yeah.
ensure that she gets a job. So instead of it just being a rare incident which is being narrated, that should be a way of life. And vocational training is a way to ensure the skill gap is met, because another thing that I think we
True,
agreed
true, true.
upon is there's a huge skill gap, and we definitely need women to come into play to
Yeah.
fix that gap. Otherwise, it is not possible only for men to do it. We will have to get
True, true,
even
true.
women to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
interestingly, we're talking about manual work, right? So when you talk about
Yeah.
manufacturing, the things that come into our mind are heavy machines, grease, heat,
Yeah. Yeah.
manual
Yeah.
work, all of that. But within manufacturing, there are a lot of other segments, like, for example, electronics, right? Electronics, which requires superior hand dexterity, which
True, true,
perhaps
true.
women possess more. To share an example at home, it so happened that I bumped into the intercom and the intercom broke, and it was in all pieces everywhere, and
Mm.
it had to be fixed. And I didn't know how to fix. I just knew that all of these things need to get inside the phone, right? I just knew that it had to go into the handset, but I didn't know
Okay.
where and what and all of that. But if I don't put it in a certain way, it's not going to fix, because that's the design, right? The design is made in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
that if you don't put it in a particular way, it's not going to close. My dad knew, he has some background. My dad knew where exactly each piece has to go, but he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't just do it. He lacked the dexterity that required to put it. So he told me what to do, and I did it very
Yeah.
easily and conveniently. We shared the
Mm.
credit, of course. He told me what to do, and I did it, and we fixed it. And yeah, it's a different thing that you only can make calls, you can't receive calls. But we
Okay.
fixed the problem halfway through.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
That's good.
discovered, interestingly, women possess they have superior hand dexterity, which men don't possess. And a lot of
Mm.
organizations today, especially in the electronics industry, they are specifically looking out and scouting for women who can participate in their assembly lines. They're looking at
Mm.
assembly lines which is completely owned by women.
Yeah.
And one particular organization which is responsible for staffing in the electronic industry, called Quest Corp.
Mm.
Quest Corp, what it does is it provides staffing solutions for a lot of electronics companies, and they have said, because of what I mentioned in terms of superior hand dexterity, they're looking at least 70% of their assembly lines to be owned by women. But the challenge is,
Mm.
how do we get 70% of the women, right? And
Yeah.
beautifully, what they do is they actually go to villages, they go to taluks, they look for women, and they just don't go meet them. What they do is they actually make presentations, they show videos to the head of the village, to the
Yeah.
people, to the entire society, the entire community there, and let them see what is the kind of work that they will do, what is the kind of work environment that these women will be working in, because
Okay.
their buy-in is actually very important. So they're looking at the mindset there, the mindset of not letting women go into areas which is typically considered a male-dominated area. So
Mm.
how can we familiarize them with that whole environment, right? So they show videos, they show how the work environment is, and then they recruit women or girls to
Mm.
these electronic companies where they're in assembly lines doing fixing things, especially semiconductor industries. They're fixing things, and all of that. and they just don't stop there. While the skilling happens, they're going to focus on the skill. They actually also take care of them once they come into the city. They ensure that they get used to this life, because they are not used to be living alone, these girls. So they even handhold them till there, so that they once they start earning, once they become comfortable, and once they become confident, then it's a different ball game altogether. But the first layer that comes out from the village, for them, the hand holding is done. And I think it's wonderful, because they're just not taking care of the mindset of the worker here, but the whole community, the whole ecosystem that they're going to be yanked out of, right? These girls are going to be pulled out of that ecosystem into the city, which is very attractive to them, but it's equally scary to them. It's equally, they're like many of them have no clue, and they've heard a lot of these horrible stories about what city life can do to them. And here you have an organization who's giving not just them the comfort, but the whole ecosystem that comfort. And I think that's the way it needs to go. If you're looking up in terms of how to get more women into the manufacturing area, and if you're looking at the mindset and skill set, it's just not this person, it's just not women that we're looking at, but also others, right? I think that was a brilliant story in terms of how they do it. And especially I would like to give credit to this particular journalist who's written this article called Sheetal Anand, and this article that I'm referring to is on SHRM. So if you're interested, please do go ahead and read. I think she's brilliantly done her research and thrown light on areas which typically would not see. So that's something which I found very interesting.
Nice. It's interesting. That's an interesting example, actually.
In fact, Ashwini, when you were talking about this particular example, I'm just recalling Priyanka's previous employer, what they did, Bosch. I think she will have a similar story to narrate. Priyanka, if you can share how you got all these women folk, 100% women shop floor. Women working in the shop floor is such an amazing thing. I think we can hear it from the horse's mouth. Priyanka, if you want to take a minute to share where you...
Sure, definitely. Yeah, so we have 2 manufacturing units of Bosch in Chennai, and we would proudly say that 100% of the assembly lines are owned by women workforce. And I'm also happy that I was the person responsible for recruiting all women workforce in the shop floor. Thank you. So what we did was as Ashwini was saying, that we scouted the villages. We went to the panchayats, we made presentations over there. We even went to the schools where we had sessions with the 12th standard girls, where when they pass out and after when they become 18, they know what is happening in the outside world. For those school girls which don't know the outside world, so we made them aware of the job opportunities available. And then it was more of referrals. There were many companies actually having 100% workforce in and around in Kanchipuram district. So like Nokia was having, Yamaha was having. So that's one plus point. And there are a lot of women actually available in the market, but it is how the companies approach and how we get them to the work. It's actually also challenging because we have a high attrition rate when we have girls, young girls having in the manufacturing assembly lines, because once they get married, they quit. So it's like you have to keep recruiting throughout the year. There is no break for recruitment. That's something. When talking about women, having 100% of women in the manufacturing, you would also just wanted to emphasize on one more topic. Like when companies are more recruiting women in the job floor, we also want companies to have women in the leadership roles in manufacturing as well. Because even in few companies, we see there is 100% the shop floor, but when it comes to the middle management or top management, it's hardly less than 2%.
Wow.
So that's the gap which I see.
Yeah, I think that's very very beautifully articulated, Priyanka, because that's another thing, right? If you talk about the manufacturing industry, we're focusing on the shop floor, and if things have to get better on the shop floor, if we are looking, we do need more women across the board, right? We will need across the hierarchy, we need more women, which,
Yes.
like you said, we're talking about 2%, which is hardly a substantial figure, and to make decisions. So if you have to make decisions, if we need to look at another perspective, and I think it is not disputed anymore, right? It is easily understood. Of course, it is a bias in itself when we say that when women come on board, we have different perspectives, we have creative problem solving. Many might argue that that itself is a bias in thinking, but a lot of research has proven over and again that that is the fact, that when we have women on board, there is a difference in the way a problem is solved. There is a lot of process that is followed. The women on shop floor are preferred exactly for these reasons, because they have a sense of work ethic, discipline, and a lot of them are saying that it rubs on onto the male counterpart, because they follow complex instructions much better than men, and they are more productive because they take fewer breaks. They focus, they will have a home to take care of, so they want to finish as much as possible in the production floor, and they want to go out. So because of all of these reasons, women are preferred on the shop floor, but where we don't see them is on the other part of the hierarchy, where also we would want to see more women. Again, that's
I want.
the yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to add on to that one, the topic you came, right, because they limit women to the shop floor or the lower level hierarchy, and some also do it like, because like, I think there was this discussion last year or something, where they, to just to maintain that gap, if you have just to maintain this gender equality, you have women, but if it is not carried up till the upper hierarchy, right, it is not like you're not reaping the full advantage of it. So when you have women in this upper hierarchy, or like when they are involved in this decision making process, the results would be completely different, because they see from a different perspective, especially if your products involve markets where women are also involved. Like, always men cannot decide like what women might prefer. A very good example of this is the Atlas Cycle. Atlas Cycle in India was one of the earliest cycling companies in 1950s. In 1961, when they sold 10 lakh plus cycles, they released one poster, which by that time it was like a revolutionary poster. It had women driving a cycle in sari, and the male people, like the father and the son, waving her goodbye. So this was considered revolutionary, because all the ads before then had women sitting on the back seat and the man driving it. So what was the idea behind this poster was they removed that crossbar. The cycle has a crossbar, right? And women cannot ride it wearing sari when there is a crossbar. It's difficult. So when they removed that crossbar, they discovered a new market for women. And a lot of women were like, when they saw the poster, later I can share it, the poster where they saw this women driving the cycle in sari. So it became an aspirational thing. A lot of women thought like, they can also travel to work in cycle. They need not like, ask their father or brother to drop them. So, but why it took 10 years? Because they had to discover it through trial and error. But if there was a woman in the management in the first year itself, this decision would have easily come like 8 years before. She would have told like, women might prefer this. It might be difficult for them to drive. Same, any product which actually has been customized for women, right? It involves a woman's decision also in that. Otherwise, it will take longer time. So, be it
I would
manufacturing,
also
marketing, or any of these things, really, it's good to have a healthy ratio of women to men in the decision making board. And this is what like many companies have done, successful companies.
So
Yeah,
my point here is, when we're talking about women and women at all levels,
yeah,
here the question here is, women have the skill set. Absolutely, they have the skill set,
yeah,
but
yeah,
somewhere I feel they lose the mindset along the way. uh, Sticking to our topic,
yeah,
that is where I feel extremely, it bothers me quite a bit, because when they reach halfway, they're okay through the halfway. But beyond a certain point, we can actually see them, moving away from the mainstream, and they lose their way. Some of them,
yeah,
but that actually bothers me, because They feel threatened. They are worried. They are anxious. There are no coaches who will, or mentors who will tell them what to do. And
Yeah.
women, we have fewer mentors and coaches, so
Yeah.
we don't have anybody who really puts the traffic lights on us and says it's okay, things will happen, yet don't bother about all that, keep moving, keep your direction, north way,
Yeah.
so people lack coaches, and so even if you give them coaches, they start wondering, that something is wrong with them.
Mhm.
So this is from very few examples, not to belittle anyone, but
Yeah.
that is something that I thought I should put it across here to you and Srinath and Ashwini. What is your idea on this? Do you agree, or why do you think this is happening? From your own experience, what do you think can be done to help us be there in the entirety of the organization, not just get stuck at a certain level. And especially when it comes to manufacturing, most of the women are either in HR or in
Mhm.
finance. They are not getting into the shop floor. Not many are in the shop floor. Need not be just blue collar. White collar women can also be in the shop floor for various reasons. Heading safety and things like that. So,
We have
what is
process
your take? I want to
engineers.
hear.
Yeah, we have process
Absolutely.
engineers,
Absolutely.
quality engineers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what is your
Yeah.
take, Srinath and Ashwini, on this?
Uh, I
Uh,
mean, I don't have like experience, but I know a friend who usually used to work in, who worked with me for a project on the rooftop, and she's like very hardworking person. We used to like work on hours for hours on the rooftop. But when she was in India, she was telling me this that before she did her PhD, she was working in a company in India where she was a leader for a team where she has to give directions to the workers to do some to do the task for the day and all that. And then the workers never used to take a decision seriously. They used to think
Mm-hmm.
like, what would a woman know? Like, it's like, for example, they have been doing that for so many years. They used to never take a decision seriously and they always used to see it with a doubt. So that's the reason why she told she quit that thing, because even though she had chances for promotion and all that, she didn't want to be in that kind of space where, it's a kind of adds mental pressure also. It's every time you have to prepare for it, like, because for a male it becomes easy in such scenario, like you give something, give this task to do, and then they do it, they follow it. And then when a woman does the same thing, they see that they come with this stigma that this person may not know about it. So this is one experience I know, like where a traditional work system or the traditional stigma is actually forcing women not to go up the upper hierarchy. They don't want to carry this unnecessary mental pressure. Maybe if they're passionate about that work and like if they're waiting for it for so many years, they might bear with it and then just take it with a pinch of salt and go forward. But for some, they don't find it as a necessity. That's what I feel from this experience. But apart from that, the other way I haven't known. I mean, I'm also hearing it for the first time.
No, during the
so
Q&A,
I
I'll
think,
come back to you. I have a question for you, Srinath, but then I'll take it during the Q&A. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Ashwini,
yeah.
go.
yeah, so look, Priyanka just explained, and she being somebody who's worked closely in the manufacturing area, she mentioned about how throughout the year you're recruiting, right? Because there is a lot of leakage. People are quitting, women are quitting, and they quit because of family reasons. They get married, they want to quit. um, and that's because there is a and number one reason, so when you look at the statistics also, the number one reason why a woman quits from a manufacturing industry is for work life balance. And that is something which needs to be looked at. And the more and more when you look at all the initiatives where you want to get women on board, everybody talks about how we need to make sure that as an organization we give flexible working hours, we provide all of that possible to help women make that work life balance, so that there is no leakage, right? And why we don't have people across the board is because people quit after a certain level, so there is nobody climbing up, right? So we have very few supervisors who are women, because they don't get promoted. Before they get promoted, they are deciding to leave the organization. I like the approach of all. So organizations like, like initiatives like this, for example, the All Ladies League, I think is brilliant because they do exactly that. We are now, for example, having this discussion in the first place to see if there are women who are aspiring to have careers in the manufacturing industry, they're motivated, they're enthused enough, and they're inspired listening to stories to make a career in the manufacturing area, right? So initiatives like this, in fact, the three-pronged approach that is articulated in All Ladies League is brilliant, which talks about providing learning opportunity, providing them networking opportunities, and also providing them with mentorship, right? So mentorship, I think, is key. Coaching is key. And I talked about the initiatives that we had in my organization about getting women back, again, dealing with the mindset there. And to deal with the mindset, it is important that there is that opportunity provided to mentor. Again, mentor need not be a woman herself, but we have seen that women tend to open up, feel more comfortable to share their work-life balance issues, other domestic issues with mentors who are women than men. Right? I've
Mm-hmm.
worked with some mentors myself. I've worked with male managers myself who have a ear and who listen and understand perhaps more sensitively about domestic issues than female managers. But as a person who wants to reach out, I would perhaps be more comfortable to reach out. I would assume that a lending ear would be provided by a female mentor than a male mentor. So, like I
Yeah.
go back to the same thing, like I give the example of QuestCorp. We need a whole ecosystem that takes care of this. Right? When we talk about the mindset and skill set, it's just not an individual. So when we get people back, like Priyanka explained, there's a lot of organizations in Chennai, which in the Kanjipuram district, who are looking very aggressively to get assembly lines, which are 100%, with lack of better word, manned by women employees, right?
Women.
Yeah, so manned by women employees. And they are looking at it very aggressively, and everybody's trying very hard. We have examples. For example, I read Vedanta, the mining organization, has an all-women team. We have Daimler, who also has an all-women team. There's a lot of examples like C8 and all of that who are looking at getting all of them. And they don't stop there. They are not just focusing on the mindset and skill set of the women employees, but they're also reaching out to the male employees at the same time. They understand that when the women are getting into their bastion, there is going to be feathers that are going to get ruffled. Not all men are going to be welcoming. They're going to get uncomfortable. The whole shop floor needs to be redesigned. We need to have restrooms which takes care of women employees now. We need to have separate recreational spaces for women employees. So all of this needs to come into play, and all of this needs to be addressed. And going to Srinath's point, and that is equally well represented and taken care of when we have women in the seat of decision-making situations where people forget to think of certain things, and hey, there's a woman on the board who's reminding them about certain things, right? So those are things that needs to be focused on. So how do we, one good way is to just not look at the person in solitary, but to look at the entire system, to look at all to the entire ecosystem, to make it more welcoming and to make it a normal thing to do. To work in the shop floor, to work in the manufacturing area should be a normal thing to do, which is not the case. So the mindset and skill set, of course, we need to focus on the employees we want to attract, but also from where they come from, the village that they come from. So when I'm saying village, I'm not talking about the literal village, but it takes a village to raise a person. So I'm talking about the entire village in that context.
And also, if I recall, at Bosch, they also identified people for second line leadership development. The stories of those things also did happen. So women, irrespective of whether they come from a village or from an engineering college, I have myself seen a couple of girls who started off at a junior level and then getting into a second line position. So all that you have to have is a mindset to aspire for those things, And when an
The growth
opportunity is
mindset.
given, how quickly you grab it is what matters. Yeah, Priyanka. Yeah, Shri, you were saying something.
Yes, so
Yeah,
I would like to
sure.
share something. my father, he was running his own garment business, say in early 2000s. So and I was a kid that time, probably around 8, 9 years old or something. And I have seen him sitting with all his workers and discussing on various other things and coming up with a decision making and whatever. He involves everyone. They were equal male and female workforce. And not only my father, and I have heard a lot of stories of the small scale manufacturing industries where they involve women in decision making. So they sit as a team and they discuss and they have come up with a lot of things. But this having women in the ratio of women in decision making or in the top management level is really minimum only when the company grows. That I mean, what I'm trying to say is, once the company starts growing, the women involvement of women in various aspects gets decreases. So the company grows and this thing get decreases. So as the company grows, so the mentoring or coaching, whatever it is, it has to be through the growing phase, so that there is no deviation in having women in decision making or any other kind of board discussions or whatever it is. So when we have that coaching or mentoring and a lot of other training programs throughout the company's growing phase, and I'm sure there will be a relatively good proportion of women and men in any management level.
Sure. Yeah, good point. Yes, when you grow, you kind of lose out on the women, it looks like. Yeah, when you're
Yes.
smart. Yeah, maybe there's a point to what she's saying. That's an observation, looks like. But it happens even in smaller organizations. When you take a typical Tirupur, Tirupur, I have trained a number of factory workers in Tirupur, garment factory workers in Tirupur, at least 5 or 6 factories. I mean, apart from the typical the stitching people, I've not seen anybody at the top level. It's this male boss who sits on top and makes a decision. So yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, Ashwini.
I liked what Shri said, especially I'm holding on to the point when she said that as an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, I watched my father have these discussions with women, right? So that's what girls are watching. They are seeing that if I'm in the manufacturing industry, people will come to me for points, people will come to me for decision making, but I don't see them beyond that, right? So girls are growing up with that kind of less examples to see and to aspire and
Absolutely,
inspire,
absolutely.
right? But that's not the case. I mean, I've spoken to you, ma'am, multiple times, and you've said that a lot of unsung heroes, again, lack of better word, heroes, women we're talking about here, who are in the
Heroines,
manufacturing
heroines,
industry.
Ashwini.
Yeah, they are in the shop floor, they are in the management, and they are all, pardon my language, but kick ass in their own way, and they are giving they are able to work so well with men, and they are able to gel, they're able to contribute, they're able to really make a difference to the bottom line there. But we don't throw enough light on that, right? And a lot has been said about that. Like the reason why I told about this article in SHRM by Sheetal Anand is that there is a small group of people who are, it might be a torchlight, but they are trying to throw light on all of these things. And if there are a lot of women, a lot of girls watching this, I think you should realize and you should understand that there are a lot of examples. You just need to see, and even if you can't, you can be that example, right? You usually talk about women being fighter pilots. We talk about women manning uh, trains and things like that, but we have a lot of unsung heroes amongst us. They are all equal inspiring. And a lot of men like Srinath, who says he himself is a feminist, who want to lend that helping hand, who want to support. Right? I've been grateful in my life. I've had men around me who have not made me do things or expected things which said because you're a woman you do a certain thing or you don't do a certain thing, right? I've been grateful for that. And I think we need for young girls to see that. They need to see more and more that you don't do things because you're a woman or a man. You do things because you're a person and you enjoy it and you think you can contribute very well in that, right? So let's hope that Srinidhi, ever if you wish to have kids and if your daughter watches, she sees a different thing altogether. And she sees that that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be somebody like Srinidhi who makes things happen.
Actually, when you told about this thing, right, it actually works two ways. So, for example, I have been working in lab for last like 7 to 8 years through various internships and full-time work. And naturally, there are very few women who used to work. And say when women used to struggle with lifting something, right, when they're carrying something or moving something. So naturally, the man in the lab will go to help them. It's like they don't like sit simply they just go to offer them a helping hand to carry that. And so it's usually the norm. And there was once like when we went for kayaking, we were unloading these kayak boats from the lorry to the river. So it had like 20 guys and maybe like 10 girls, and then each 2 guys were like carrying per kayak. So we loaded, and then when I came back to the stop, I was like waiting for the other guy to come so that we both can carry it. And there was this girl who came and then told, "Come, let's carry." You know, it's insensitive in both the cases. When you think like this girl cannot do and you don't help, that is insensitive. And when you calibrate the strength, you think that this girl cannot do and then you wait for a guy, that is also insensitive. So it's like we are in like the central zone, like it's like you need to give benefit of doubt. And
I'm sorry about that, Srinath.
Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead, Priyanka.
On this point as well. Yeah. Even at Bosch, we had like.
Oh.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when it comes to the strength and the calibration of a girl can do it or not, we even so generally we have a mindset that the girl is so thin or she's too small to carry a heavy object. But then we had an assembly line in manufacturing in Bosch where the girls had to lift 5 kg, 4 to 5 kg of tools throughout the assembly, like for 8 hours in the shift. And then there were very thin, small girls who used to do that work so perfectly, and they never had any problem in carrying that weight. It's like heavy actually when you carry but they do it so easily. And then the same plant was in Bangalore where men were working on the same machines, no difference. Actually, we had a relocation of the manufacturing assembly lines from Bangalore to Chennai, so no difference in the plant. But these girls gave a direct 40% increase in productivity on the same machines on the same bench 1 year's time. So that was the strength of those girls on the manufacturing.
True.
They have a high discipline and they're so connected to the organization that even during the breaks, they're like, "No, ma'am, we have target to achieve, so we leave faster, we'll come and we start working." Even during the breaks, they start working. So that's the level of commitment
so
they have
cool.
towards the organization, towards the goal.
So my point is actually we need to respect both this kind of people. One who are actually, you should not underestimate someone thinking that they cannot do it, and then you need to have this stereotype. But at the same time, when there are women who ask for help, or you are not supposed to belittle them for that. You need to cater to both this, because at this point both these people exist in a women workforce. One who need a physical, who need help to lift things physically, and then who can do it by themselves. So both are actually valid. This is what I have learned over the time, and especially I had a lot of great women mentors actually right from the time I was doing my internship. So which was you start seeing things in a different perspective, and then you realize it. And one more thing, add on to Ashwini's point, you mentioned about this fighter pilot thing, right? About how we need to take the step forward. I remember reading this very long back. In Israel, there was this IDF, the defense force, and they were all male pilots by then, fighter jet pilots. And nobody knew why they were males, because it was not like they were against females. It was just like they were getting only male applicants. There was this girl called Alice Miller who wanted to become a female pilot, who wanted to become fighter jet pilot. And then since this discussion was going on, she went to Supreme Court. And then she got the law saying that the fighter pilot role cannot discriminate someone on basis of sex, because it doesn't make any sense. And then the people, they realized that it was true, because they also did not have any idea, because traditionally they were getting men applicants and they were thinking like only men do this job. And what they told her was like, we welcome your application, but the thing is we cannot show you any partiality. So whatever training men are going through, you need to go through the same thing from A to Z. We will give you the same treatment and same conditions. If you can pass, then you'd be selected. And this training is actually a very difficult one with only 3% success rate. And this girl who joined that, she failed the test. She could not become a pilot. But the fact that she brought this law, or she brought this discussion into the open, it inspired other women. And few years later, they were women graduates. And I think 6 years later, there was a women pilot who actually became pilot because of this girl's petition in the Supreme Court. So it's like, even sometimes you might not like when you start this change, right? Maybe you might not be able to make it, but what you do might inspire others. It might create a discussion in boardroom. It might influence the people to see it from a different perspective. So I believe, like, don't get don't see these rules and regulations or stereotypes. If you are passionate about something, if you want to try it, just go for it. Either you would get it, or you would continue to inspire people, or you would create the discussion at least, which would be helpful for a lot of women. And this girl's story is actually there in the IDF today also. It is available. So she might have failed the test, but she's one of the successful people that way, to have inspired a lot of other girls, to bring in a change, such a big shift. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So that is the thing I would say, like, just try for it. Like, people, a lot of guys, girls who usually message us, like, asking like, can we get into this institute? Can we get into PhD? Can we get into this job? But the thing is, like, you just apply it and see first. You might get it. You never know. Don't think like, don't be don't put question in the first step itself. So try for it if you're interested in manufacturing. If you think like only men are all there, but you can be the first woman in that line. So, I mean, it's just like you can try it out and see.
Sure, Srinath, that's a very good point.
It's add
So
on
if
to
I
Ashwini's
have to
point when she
assume,
mentioned.
absolutely. So if I have to assume the role of Solomon Papaya, and if I have to be the judge to say whether it's a skill set or a mindset, all of you are familiar with Solomon Papaya, right? I'm nowhere closer to him, but then, if I have to assume, I would love to make the statement. You need to have the right mindset, and coupled with a good skill set, you can make it big in manufacturing. Is my final say in the matter. Just kidding. So, we have seen several examples of mindset playing a very important role, like how beautifully Ashwini started off with the example of the mask, the filter example. How they made volumes of those masks, and which needed a good blend of both skill set as well as the mindset. That was a very beautiful story. And Srinath pitching in and talking about so many of his examples, and he moved away from the solar panel. He went all over cycling and everything, and he came back to the solar, is what I thought. So that shows, how much, no, the thing is, we have a lot of examples, is what I think.
True.
We have a lot of examples. And if we just tap into this, this pool of examples, I think, or anecdotes, I think we're going to get brilliant ones, which is going to support our world view of manufacturing, and women making it big in manufacturing. So, when I was, it was about 8 or 9 years ago, when I was part of TVS Logistics, I have this huge passion for manufacturing. I can't work anywhere else. I can only work for a hardcore industry like that. My mindset is like that. So, IT doesn't make me stay for a long time. So that was one of the shortest things I've ever had. one example. One night I read while before going to sleep. So I was just reading and catching up with some of the things that are happening in the industry, and I read this, and I just had so much goosebumps all over my body. The example of Mary Barra becoming the CEO and managing director, the chairman and managing director of General Motors.
Oh,
So that was one thing just gave me such a lot of energy at 11:30 in the night when I was just reading this up. So that is what we all want to see at the end of the day. And we have Mary Barras all over the world. We have Mary Barras all over the world. And when General Motors had a very big issue, which became such a legal problem for them all over the world, and Americans react very sensitively to all these things. So how she took the mantle, led the entire company by an example, and how she kind of managed and brought over the crisis is a story that everybody has to read. Whether you're in the industry sector doesn't matter, but how resilient you are, how you look at these things, and how you emerge a winner at the end of the day is what all that matters. So a very strong mindset. Like what Jack Welch said. I would hire for a mindset and not a skill set.
true, true, true.
I think skill set, I can't expect a junior kid who walks from a school to have all the skill sets. I don't expect. All that I want the kid, the girl or the boy, is to only have the mindset, the readiness, the fire in the belly. That is all that I expect from that kind of a thing. And all across is that fire in the belly, which converts itself into a mindset. So
Yeah.
that is a Lady Solomon Papaya's view to the whole discussion that we had. And now I'll be very happy if some of our listeners can come up with some questions, because we have some very good speakers who will give you some good insights. So I think you should ask a few questions. Over
To
to
add on to your point, right, the skill set thing, today knowledge is actually one of the cheapest things. You can learn it any which way through YouTube, Coursera, so many other things. As long as your mindset is strong, right, learning something is not such a difficult thing today. No need to go to
absolutely.
college or anything. You can learn Python, SolidWorks,
Not
anything.
at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
Skill set can be developed at any point in time.
Any
I
point.
saw
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
old lady writing this bullet. She is like 91 years old, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
thinking,
yeah, exactly.
and what's going on?
You can learn. You
So
can learn to drive, cook, everything. YouTube has solution for everything. It's just that if you have that, and a lot of companies to stop taking it seriously. They're not like so after this degrees or certifications and all that. Is they more
absolutely,
focus on this problem solving and all that. So that fire in the belly is the most important thing. That's what I do
absolutely.
believe in.
So let us look at some questions coming our way. Shri, can you just take us to the questions? Uh, Ladies, gentlemen, would you like to ask a few questions? If you don't have, then I will start with one question that I have for maybe I could break the silence. We can go on for another 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and then we could close this. So I have
Okay.
one question for Srinath.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Srinath, I want to know, what happens in your solar panel. You said that there's a lot of R&D going on. You
Yeah, yeah,
manufacture
yeah.
solar panels. So, and what do you think happens as far as a mindset is concerned with your women folk? What kind of energies they bring to the shop when they come in, and what exactly happens in that place? Can you just throw some light?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So basically, I come from Ceres. We cover the whole value chain of solar industry. But we are basically a research institute. So our work is not very industrial. You could say that. So we just do the research, prototyping. You can say. So from solar cells to panels to systems to other new generation solar technologies, we focus on all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I have worked with a lot of women in this field actually, and I don't majorly find much difference. So I think, and even also a lot of times I get messages in LinkedIn and other things asking for from a lot of women asking for opportunities in solar and all that. And so there are two things in manufacturing also, if you're talking about it, like a solar panel. We, like, for example, let's take, we are focusing on something like so the land is becoming scarce for solar panels, so they're installing solar panels in water, which is called floating solar. And also they're installing in the buildings, which is called BiPV, building integrated PV, where instead of this window glass, you can have solar panel. To give a very simple example.
Oh wow.
So all
Okay.
all these are design based. So women, they actually can contribute a lot into this like designing skills, and then or like Ashwini mentioned, the organizational skills, right? So those kind of things, right? Women do contribute a lot actually in that thing. And
Now, what I
basically, I
asked
do.
you was, there are
Uh,
many students who will be listening to this, that
yeah,
can convert into a career pathway for them.
yeah.
If they know what's going on, it could help them with choosing this as one of their career paths.
Yeah, I remember, like, it's see, by the end of the day, it's actually about the mindset. If you think you can do it, like, if you think you have the acumen to do it, you will be able to do it. But if you think, like, this is not the place for me, then that's where your journey is actually breaking. I can give very a good example. I mentioned about that girl, right? We worked on the rooftop from 9 to 6 for 3 days continuously, and it's the Singapore weather is same. You could consider it as same like
Very, very
Chennai.
tropical.
Yeah, yeah.
Chennai.
And she was working. She didn't care about this heat or all this tanning or anything. She worked for like 3 days continuously. We were sitting under the solar panels, and then we were fixing all the work and all that. At the same time, there are guys, who feel like they don't want to do this kind of job, and so it's like, there is an opportunity for you. You just give it a try. And also there was once China, the company in China sent 2 engineers to make panels, to manufacturers, I could say. So they stayed in Singapore, and then they made solar panels, which is like each like 40 kg or something. They made like 30 of them. So as the time was limited, they were doing it. We were working even on Sunday also, and it went all the way for 2 weeks to finish this. I think 30 or 35, I think. So the people who came was one guy and one girl, and whatever the guy did, the girl also did. Lifting the panel, putting it inside, soldering, standing for whole day. From morning, if we started 9 o'clock, it used to go till 9 o'clock in the night because we were on tight schedule.
Wow,
So,
wow.
so whatever the guy did, the girl also did. And this is in China. So same thing happens in Bangladesh or other countries where they don't differentiate basically on the be it girl or
Gender. Yeah.
gender. They don't do that discrimination. And then this is also comes from the fact that the girls are also proving it. They're not like taking it as a like free
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Very
Yeah.
well
They're
said.
living up
Very
to
well said.
that thing. Yeah, yeah. So we actually, I believe that women, like, whenever they do something, it becomes a global like there is a inspiration from
News.
the sisterhood feeling in women. I like it a lot compared to men, right? Like, we celebrate when a woman becomes the first lady porter, first lady taxi driver, first lady cab driver, to something like first lady CEO. Like, we celebrate all of this. Like, when women become, like, even when Kamala Harris became vice president, right? It was a global celebration.
We are still
So
celebrating that.
yeah, it creates an inspiration to a lot of women. So
Absolutely.
that's what
Very
I
well
feel
said.
like. More than your personal journey, right? You're actually inspiring a whole gender, actually. So
Gender and the community.
there's the same thing in
And
solar also.
Srinath, I would also
Yeah,
say you don't, you also inspire men equally. When we do something, it is the community that matters more
yeah.
than
True, true, true,
same
true.
gender.
Yeah,
The community
yeah.
takes a big leaf from your book to see what it is, and they get inspired.
True, true,
So
true,
thank
true.
you.
Yeah.
If we do we have any questions for Shrima?
No, no.
Uh,
I'm good. Thank you.
we
Sri,
have
I actually have one
we have
question for
more of
Ashwini. I actually have one question for Ashwini. I wanted to ask during the discussion. So you said that women do leave after a point of time, right, from the shop floor, as they get this before this marriage or something. So is this family life the only reason, or anything else? Like, they do go and join some other uh, role or something like that?
So I just Priyanka who mentioned that, but if you look
Yeah,
at statistics, the number
yeah,
one reason for women to leave is work-life balance. Now that could be
yeah. This is
childcare,
what you mentioned,
but
actually. Yeah,
but the most popular reason, of course, is childcare.
yeah. Okay.
But I think in the manufacturing industry, it's also marriage itself, because now
Hmm.
the woman needs to get permission even from her new family, which was not the
Okay.
case. Maybe her source of income was very much valued in her parents' place, perhaps,
Please, yeah.
but in once she gets married, then there is more for her to deal with, and so the decision is usually to discontinue from working. I think that's the call that a woman generally takes.
True, true,
And
true,
at
true.
that level, at the shop floor, as Ashwini said, that's what matters more. Um, Especially from Priyanka's point of view, it is that there's a lot of pressure on these women, and there's a lot of pressure, and they go through a lot of wife beating, a lot of alcoholism in the family,
True, 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 true.
where women are sometimes not allowed to go back and earn. There's lots going on socially. They get suppressed and oppressed.
Suppressed, yeah,
So that is
yeah,
what
yeah.
that is what.
In fact, the whole point when we say this 100% women in the assembly line, that's a comfort factor for the family of the woman,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
having to rub shoulders with a man at a shop floor would be a reason to not make it an attractive proposition for a woman. Coming
Okay.
from a background where the mindset is very different, right? So, though we say 100% as a number, it's also to make it more attractive for a woman to join the industry, and just not the woman, but for her family to feel the sense of comfort that it's all women who are working, there are no male. Because that's a typical question when a girl goes out: are there any other women with you? You go out as a
Yeah,
person in
yeah,
the
yeah.
management. If you're traveling, the family wants to know, are there other women who are with you traveling, or are there only men who are traveling with you? So this is
The stigma
across
is still
this
there,
is
yeah.
across the cross level, and it's the protective instinct, I would assume, of the family also, to take care of the
Absolutely.
girl, to take care of the family. And that's another reason why we talk about 100%. And
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep. And also,
yeah.
more than being anything, the financial support for these girls bringing to their families are sometimes higher than their parents, like their fathers. These girls start being the breadwinners of their family, and beyond this financial status, the financial independence brings a lot of courage and strength in the women to stand up for themselves and what they need. Few girls even save their own salary for their future education as well. And even when they get married, when they get to know the importance of being financially independent, which is very important for any
Absolutely.
individual, no matter. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I write in Quora also on this thing, because it's one of the because like if women have this financial independence, or like when they are go out to work, right, it's good for men also, because it reduces the financial burden on men. Because otherwise, right, most of the men I know, like who are the sole breadwinners, they live in constant fear actually of recession. And like they take like multiple insurances, thinking that if something happens to me, what's going to happen to my family, those kind of thing. If there is a woman working also, right, it eases that financial pressure actually. And
That's your
one
point
thing.
of view. That's your point of view, Srinath, because you are a feminist and you are
Was the
pro
point
women.
exactly?
Oh, but
No,
it's actually good for
no,
men
but
also,
I
right? I
agree
mean,
with
it
Srinath.
benefits me also.
A lot of them think similarly. I have a lot of colleagues who think similarly,
No, but
and
actually
I think
this
that's the new age men.
is the patriarchal mindset, right? Because like men are convinced to believe like they should be the breadwinner. I don't know if they are given a logical choice, right? They would, like, if they think deep into it, they really know it all wrong. Is the society that manufactures their thinking this way. And the other thing is, one more thing I get is like, I want my wife, or I want my daughter-in-law to manage the house. The daughter-in-law would have done like bachelor's or MBA. Her salary outside would have been like in at least like 40K plus, and she would be doing a job which is 4K plus. It's like, you outsource it. You can save a lot every month. It's a poor economical calculation also.
Great. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
Yeah.
we are like
Thank you.
overpowering him in number here. I think this
Thank you.
studio.
Thank you for having me.
If there are no other questions, I think I would only like to say this. The way this entire chat went was so interesting, because we brought so many viewpoints, so many industrial perspectives, right from what's happening to women who are working currently, women returning after their maternity, and how that can be managed, and women from the lower strata, like from the villages and hamlets, how we hire them, and how we bring them to mainstream, and how we are able to provide them with a good career opportunity. So this, I think, is one of the unique chats which was well spanned across many what do I say, subject matters, which was very interesting. And thank you again, Ashwini and
Thank,
Srinath,
yeah, thank
for
you for the
being there
opportunity.
for. Yeah, we should thank you, because especially Ashwini, she's a new mom, has a 5-year-old baby. She is now taken. She is kind of loaned her time from her parents. I think she stayed on. I think we are like well into 20 minutes past 7. And thank you, Ashwini, for you specially. Thank the little fellow and tell him that, Agastya, right? So tell Agastya a big thank you. Give him a hug from all our the aunties and uncle here. And thank you so much. And we really look forward. Srinath, thank you for your time. I think it's late in
Thank
the
you.
evening for you. You're joining
No,
from,
no issues.
and it is a truly global call with Priyanka from US, from Srinath from Singapore, and the three of us from India. It's a truly global call, and I really appreciate each one of your time. And we really look forward to another conversations like this
Sure,
to
sure,
happen
sure.
very shortly, right? Thank you,
Yeah.
and
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Sri and Priyanka, for being there for us all the time. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
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 you
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 so
so
all.
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you,
Bye
Shri.
bye.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Thank you, Srinath. Thank you, Ashwini. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.